Vivica A. Fox is such a gorgeous woman inside and out. And to see the way that the media drags her just because she's starting to look the age of 60,
Mm.
it's like, okay, so that's the crime.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining the First Southland podcast. Got another really exciting episode planned today. Super pumped. Dr. B was able to take some time out of her busy schedule. She does a lot of great work in a similar space to us, and just honored to have you on. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. I mean, you guys have on high quality guests, so I consider myself honored and flattered to have been invited to be on. So thank you.
Good stuff. Well, I know we're going to get into a lot of good things, but I always like when we try to really focus in on guests that, one, selfishly I want to talk to because they know a lot more than me on these topics. But two, also, they've done the work. Not only have they accomplished some things, which I know we'll get into today, like some of your personal accomplishments, but also did the heavy lifting with your PhD in natural medicine, your master's in exercise science. So you have the credentials, the work, and I'm not sure how much you can get into it, but I know a lot of high celebrity people or high profile people out there have trusted you with overseeing their health too. So I think just for the audience out there, definitely buckle up and listen in. And if you can only get through part of the episode today, definitely come back and check it out, because I think there'll be a lot of good nuggets here. A lot of people that have, followed Dr. B or followed her advice. So
Thank you for that. Thank you.
So let's talk about this fun little journey of health, fitness, and all things under that umbrella. What got you into this? Can you kind of tell everybody a little
Yeah.
bit? I know more about your story, but if you could, tell everybody out there, how'd you get into this fun health and fitness and all the good things that you're doing now?
Absolutely. Well, first, Joe, I have to say I'm in that group of us amazing individuals who, if our parents would have allowed them to diagnose us as ADHD, we would have been, but our parents didn't allow that. They knew that
Right.
we were just these free, creative mindsets and we just needed to explore life in this journey. So, that being said, my journey kind of bounces all over the place, but it definitely always came back to health and wellness, physical movement, community, and just helping to inspire and motivate people to be their very best. I was born in California, grew up in Oklahoma, incredible family. I was so blessed. Mom and dad are still married to this day. I have three incredible sisters, and I was actually homeschooled. So talk about a nerd. I was a nerd of nerds, but I'm so proud of that because my parents focused so much on building our mind. So
Mhm.
literally you know how you hear about parents nowadays watching what even the mother eats while she's pregnant and all those things. My mother was doing that 50 years ago,
Yeah.
55 years ago, to make sure that our brains and our bodies developed. We couldn't watch television growing up. My dad would teach us our math and our science when he got home for hours. I was 7 years old doing pre-algebra, and then I was 9 years old doing algebra one. And I didn't think anything was wrong. But all the kids in the neighborhood pretty much were like, she is strange. Her and her
What
sisters are strange.
I was curious, what'd your dad do during the
My
day?
dad's a pediatrician. He's a
Okay,
pediatrician. And
nice.
he's one of those from the medical world who, even way back when, decades ago, believed you have to look at the root of the problem. So
Yeah.
he was kind of an outlier in the medical community. And that's where I know I get a lot of my viewpoint when it comes to health and wellness. Like, I didn't want to go into necessarily the MD world because I didn't
Mhm.
like blood, but
I'm with you there.
but right. But slowly I made my way to the natural side and it works for me. But I went to school, University of Oklahoma here, started off in business and engineering, and then went into I think I got a degree in human resource management. And then I realized, look, I love to be creative. I love helping people. I'm moving to LA as a dancer. So
Yeah.
professional dancer in LA. And that's where I truly fell in love with the fitness because I got certified as a trainer and a nutritionist to subsidize the dancing and totally fell in love with it. I was like, I finally found the match. Yes, the dancing was his calling, this passion, but the match was in seeing people transform their lives and then knowing that I had some hand in that it could continue. So from there, I decided to go back and get my master's in exercise science because I loved the learning. I loved taking the knowledge and literally being able to apply it and literally change not only my life, but someone else's. Then, about 8 years after getting the exercise science master's, I was working with celebrities all over. I was actually featured and co-starred in over a dozen TV shows as a fitness expert. So I was really well known in the fitness scene, especially in Los Angeles. And it was just something different about it. It was like, okay, I'm doing all these things that I thought were on this bucket list where I was supposed to go, but there was an emptiness. And I'm a person of faith, so I remember praying to God and asking him, well, what do you want me to do? And I
Hmm.
remember so clearly hearing this. He was like, I told you to help everyday people.
Hmm.
And I love my celebrities, love them to death, but as you know, people like ourselves, like celebrities, corporate CEOs, we're already type A,
Hmm.
which means we're going to be more likely to try to care for our bodies and care for our minds so we can be around to do this longer. That everyday person doesn't have that same drive. So
Hmm.
when I went and finally realized, okay, what I was put here to be, I had to revert back to helping community again. So I actually left the job working with Carrie Underwood. I left it, and her and her team were so understanding. Like they got it,
Yeah.
and I still love them to this day. Always will. But I started working back with the community again. So still work with celebrities. Went back and got my doctorate in natural medicine with a focus in holistic nutrition. I finished 2022. I went back around 2018, finished in 2022 with everything, and since then, just a whole new world of things have opened up. Still working heavily with Steve Harvey. I'm his personal nutritionist and also the wellness director for his entire company here, and also a wellness director for one of his companies in the UAE. So keeps me busy.
Yeah.
I still work heavily with the community. Like I said, I have some challenges coming up for the community as well, but I'm in a great place. I love what I do and I love constantly working on myself too. So I hope that wasn't too much.
No, it's great. It's always that scary moment when you pray that prayer, right? It's just like,
Ooh.
where do you want me to go? Oh, you want me to do that? Wait a minute. I was comfortable. My
Right. It's
plan
like
doesn't have that in it.
right. It was my manager wanted to kill me because she was like, "You're letting what go? How much money are we letting go?" And I was like, "But I gotta follow this voice in my heart." Yeah, she wasn't buying that.
Well, and I think too, like, right, like your commitment is maybe better word, right? To like being a lifelong learner. I mean, you said, I think you mentioned just now, like 2018 went back for your doctorate. So clearly you're already well established. You have A-list celebrities, in your network. You could easily just put your feet up and just rinse repeat, but you keep pressing into that. So that's awesome. Good for you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, just kind of to maybe start from there, like that world, if you will. Like,
Okay.
what are some things maybe, and you've probably been around that for a while, but I would imagine there's some differences maybe in that you kind of briefly discussed it, but the celebrity, high achiever, super, super busy, got the whole team, the whole deal kind of mentality person versus some of the maybe not in that same lifestyle type clientele. Like, are there some clear differences, like right when you approach it, different approaches?
There's such a clear difference, and it was almost comical when I moved back from like LA and things to Oklahoma because I was there so long. I was like, "Oh, okay, everyone is thinking like this. Everyone wants
Right.
to be healthy." I came in here like up here, and I was real quickly humble.
Right.
they're looking at me like, number one, you need to eat some food because you're too skinny,
Hmm.
so and then it took a while to let people understand. Look, I don't have all the answers, but I can promise you that, oops, lost Henry. I can promise you that you just trying to live a healthier life is going to give you such a better outcome when it comes to looking at everything in your life, in your family, your communities, your relationships. And a lot of people think that when you go into an unhealthy community, that all of a sudden everyone's going to want what you see. It's kind of like, oh, I'm the prophet on the hill, and everyone's going to want this message that I have.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, the people down there at the bottom of the hill may not even understand there's a problem.
Hmm.
So number one was mindset, and not only their mindset but my mindset, and understanding that you have to listen, you have to understand, and don't come in here as if you had all the answers in the world, but find out what they need to feel whole. And then two, understanding the different relationship between the way they look at the medical world. It's much different in these more unhealthy communities for a
Mm.
reason. There's a reason why they're more unhealthy. There's a lot of doctors, there's a lot of payments being made to insurance companies, there's a lot of medications being prescribed without outcomes, without
Hmm.
positive outcomes.
Right.
That I really started delving into ever since 2022, when I started looking and examining the blood work myself once I got my doctorate. And that sickened me,
Hmm.
because now I understood it's a group of people who already are lacking a lot of the knowledge and the education, but now many of them are also being preyed upon for that lack of understanding and knowledge. And there's a brainwashing that had occurred. That's one of the things that makes me so excited about, like, the biohacking world and many of the new, peptides and other things out there, because
Yeah.
yes, maybe they're still prescribed. So they're kind of along that line of, oh, if I take something, I'll get healthier, but they're so much better for the body without the side effects. So
Right.
that makes me excited, because that's a brainwashing that has happened for decades, and it's not going away tomorrow.
Yeah,
You
it's
know
a
what I
big thing.
mean?
We 100%. Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. We'll talk a lot. I mean, sure we'll get into the details too from your approaches, but if you can focus one's lifestyle, just baby steps, improving lifestyle decisions to improve their health, and then some slight modifications with nutrition and things, and then you layer in, have it be supplementation or even a therapy, albeit like an intermittent therapy to push them over a hill. Because I think a lot of people look at these medications as like the sick care model, where if you have like a peptide that can help you with recovery or weight loss for a short time, but they're kind of associating with the negatives a lot with that sick care model of like a
Yeah,
disease state being treated. And it's like, no, 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 this is just to push you through because you have 20 years of not the greatest habits or eating things of that nature.
absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's a real important part to identify, is just looking at that approach. So when you started doing this, looking at blood work, you switched over, working with maybe a little bit more or less health conscious community.
Mhm.
What is some of the first steps you take when you're engaging with somebody? Like, what does that conversation or approach look like?
Well, it's kind of a two-prong approach. So I
Hmm.
work with groups, and then I work with one-on-one individuals. So if I'm working with the one-on-one, first we do our basic consultations so I can get an idea of who this person is holistically. So not only, are you telling me you want to lose weight, you want to increase muscle mass? Everybody says that, but
Hmm.
what are the stressors in your life? What trauma have you had in your life recently? What are their emotional triggers that not only make you eat, but especially women over 40, but really affect your hormones? How are you bloating? How are you tired? Like, what's going on with you? Then once I really get a sense of who that person is, then we go in on the blood work and the extensive, questionnaires. And I even do a lot of the physical testing so I can see how their bodies are moving before I prescribe the online treatment. So that's the way I deal with one-on-one, is get to know who the person is holistically, instead of making assumptions based off of stereotypes or my own internal biases. We all have them, right? If I'm working with a group, I'm really big on peer pressure in a
Hmm.
positive way.
Sure.
If you have a great group and you serve as the guide, but only the teacher, they will keep each other on track. I
Hmm.
see it time in and time again. And then they're also looking at it from the same place, same point, that they're on the same plane. They're always going to see me here, even though I go through my daily struggles with health. They're not going to see that because I have muscles. So they're already, canceling
Right.
us out. It's like,
Right.
you're perfect. It's like,
Right.
no, not so much.
Right.
But that's two ways that I approach working with the one-on-one, and then also working with the larger groups.
Got it. Okay. And are there any like common, when you think about the group that's maybe not as health conscious or health educated before they meet with you, What are some common myths or things that pop up that you're like, man, I just wish this would go away, that is misleading people or maybe causing your job to be a lot harder at the start?
The first myth or misunderstanding I would love to go away is that being healthy is a punishment.
Mm,
If people would just change that, that already makes the journey so much easier. Because if you look forward to something, you automatically are going to accept it mentally, and it's going to be easier for you to do physically. If you're walking into it as if I already hate this, I mean, we know how powerful the mind is.
oh yeah.
So it's going to make it even harder for me to do my job and for you to see the transformations that you want. So that's the main one. Like, stop acting as if it's a punishment. It's a blessing, people. We're still here. We're still here for another day to
Right,
get
right.
on this journey for another chance. A lot of people didn't get that opportunity today.
Well, I'm reminded of, I don't know if you ever heard of John Gordon. So he's
Yeah.
an author who wrote like the no complaining rule, but he talks about reframing like get to versus have to. That's one of the most basic ones that I try to catch myself on. Instead of saying I have to do this, like I get to do this. And it's just, it sounds very, at first, I'm sure people roll their eyes because I did too, and like little woo woo, you know. But once if you take two or three of your most common phrases, and this is more your expertise than mine, but I found that you just tend to look at a little more, adherence is a little higher, compliance is better, and you kind of like accept it, like just as part of your DNA and who you are. So some of it's a little bit of like
Yeah.
reframing who you are as a person, but as it sounds like there's an approach there as far as mindset that you unpack with people.
Absolutely. And when I first started in the health and wellness industry, because I was so disciplined of a person,
Hmm.
when it came to health and wellness, I'm not disciplined in everything, but health and wellness, I kind
Sure.
of grew up that way, right? So I didn't understand how much the role that mindset played, whether or not somebody would be successful or if somebody would fail over and over and over again. So that had to be the most humbling situation that I've ever been through. They're like, you don't get us. You don't
Right.
get us. You don't think like us. So why do you expect us to listen to you? And I had to understand, okay, first, I have to understand these people's feelings are valid. This person's feelings are valid, even though they're not mine. And I had to start respecting people instead of thinking I was their savior. Because a
Hmm.
lot of us in the fitness industry, we think, oh, if you just do exactly as I do, you'll be fine. And
Right.
there's so much more to that. And then a lot of us are not fine. Like, if you really looked at a lot of our mentality,
Hmm.
or are we truly being healthy, or do we just look good?
Right.
You would find that many of us are lacking too. So, just coming from the standpoint of having humility and respect, and then staying positive in my approaches. I don't give up on people. They may give up on themselves and they're not
Right.
ready at that moment. I'm still not going to give up on you. You
Right.
can call me 3 to 5 years later and I will start back at step one again because I get it. I'm not mad at you if you stop coming to class or if you fell off your diet. I'm not mad at you. You're human. You're
Right.
human, but I'm here for you when you're ready. Now, am I going to save your spot? No, because you have to be responsible for yourself. But
Right.
eventually, I will make another spot for you. That I
Right.
promise.
Yeah. No, signs of a good coach, right? Just kind of you're there and you're, you know, pushing them along and making sure you're reinforcing that belief system that they're maybe struggling, you know, to get into. I am curious just to shift back to the start of your career. So what was the approach then with some of those A-listers, if you will, or you know, people who, you know, are at that just different, you know, type of lifestyle and super,
Yeah.
super busy because they're different type of busy. I mean, we're all busy, but the Steve Harveys, the Karen, you know, Underwoods, the different
Yeah.
celebrities you work with, what was some of the maybe shortcomings they had or things that you had to shift your approach different than what you're doing now?
You know what? I would say working with celebrities, because they're always under the spotlight or the public
Mhm.
scrutiny. Um, I think with a lot of them, it's giving themselves grace. To
Mhm.
be honest, is giving themselves grace through this process, and actually patting some of them on the back who are doing the process instead of just going under the knife. That in itself, in this world, is a huge thing. Is that you value your health, mind, body, and spirit, and not just okay. And I'm not talking about anybody who goes over, under the knife. Do what's best for you. I'm really
Hmm.
big on that because
Sure.
fortunately, we live in a country where we can, right? But at the same time, know that there's a repercussion for doing what we want to do too. And as long as you accept both of those things as an adult, do you? But working with a lot of the celebrities, I've noticed sometimes they would push themselves too hard. And
Mm,
us coming from the standpoint where we want to keep the body healthy on a cellular level, sometimes
yeah.
it's having to pull that back, give, like I said before, give themselves grace and then not overdo it, especially as they're going up in age, because that public scrutiny doesn't let up.
Right.
Ooh, that trolling and the blogs, like they don't give them any room for mistakes, but reminding them too that you're human. Who cares? That person can't do what you can do anyway. Stay on your path, keep yourself healthy. That's what you're put here to do.
And I think that's a key point you just made too. Like, just you're human, because I think just even people who are not in those stages, if you will,
Mhm.
we look at them as maybe inhuman or too perfect, but they have their struggles too. And I would imagine, you know, I would imagine too, like your confidence and way you approach them had to be different than maybe the current group you're serving. Because I would imagine there's yeah, just a little bit, because you talked a little about the different personality types. So, but I
Yes.
just, I don't, in some experiences of people I've talked to, like similar to yourself, it is treat them like normal people. I had a buddy
Yes.
where he had a couple successful pro athletes that, like, won a championship, all that. But he was the guy who was just like, I don't care what I don't even like your sport. He's like, just get your butt in here. You need to work out. Like, I don't care who you are. And they loved it. They're like, man, they're like, I can't believe I pay you for this, but no one
Yes.
talks to me this way. Everyone's like, and actually,
Tiptoeing. Yeah.
it's funny because for me, it helped me in the jujitsu community because I was really new to it. And not to get too far off on a tangent, but a couple like world champions, my boy's like, do you know who that is? And I already talked to the guy, and I'm like, no. And they're like, that's so and so. And I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. But the guy the guy and girl, actually, there's a couple of them that I talked to and we started working with. I think it helped that I didn't know who they were and what they accomplished, because I just treated them like normal. Where,
Absolutely.
well, I don't know. Then I find out later, it's like, oh, this is somebody. I'm
Yes.
like,
Right. And the thing is that I've always, and I must have gotten this from my parents. I can't remember exactly where this type of thought process started in my life, but I've never been overly impressed with someone just for their fame.
sure.
I'm really big on character,
Yep.
work ethic. How do you treat other people?
Hmm.
Because if you're rich as God and all that stuff, but you treat people like crap, if you
Right.
can't stop and speak to an ordinary person, even a homeless person on the streets, if you don't have any ounce of empathy or sympathy for anyone else, I'm not impressed. Your money, your status does not impress me. And I think even nowadays, because I think social media can make people famous overnight, even when if
Right.
we really looked at their resumes for what they've actually accomplished, we may be like, okay, that's look, my little sister did more than that. But it's just the way of the world. But I'll have to say this, and this is a celebrity that I worked with a long time ago, but I hate to see what they do to her in the media, and that's Vivica A. Fox. Vivica A. Fox is such a gorgeous woman inside and out. And to see the way that the media drags her just because she's starting to look the age of 60,
Mm,
it's like, okay, so that's the crime. I mean, talk about a kind human being who's always given to others. She used to prop me up so much when I was just, little Oklahoma girl, just got to LA, didn't know anyone. She looked out for me. She always introduced me to the right people, really looked after my spirit and she even made sure I didn't get into any crap with just
yeah.
nonsense. And that beautiful of a person to see people troll her. I mean, she doesn't care, but it still
Yeah.
bothers me because, like you said, they're just human beings, which means they have feelings too.
Right.
They have
Right.
feelings at the end of the day.
Right.
So yeah, I'm a mama bear when it comes to the people I care about.
That's good. That's good. I can tell having you in your corner is not a bad thing. So,
You got
uh,
that right.
so there's a lot of different ways to go here. I think there's just so much to unpack. I would like to talk a little bit about like nutrition and its interplay that you find in as midlife comes up, have it be men or women, we're getting over, let's say we're over that 35, 40 marker, we're kind of getting in at those stages in life. What are some key things you see just, in your overall holistic approach with maybe some nutrition gaps or
Yes.
common issues or errors people could be making that maybe they got away with in their 20s, but now later in life, they got to kind of take a look at that.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you're addressing this situation and this phenomenon, because I think it's across the board. I think in people of all walks of life, all types of personalities, when we're younger, especially here in westernized societies, I would say that we've adopted a way of eating, a way of being stressed out, even in our type of movements and interactions with each other, where we really stress the body out. We put a lot on the body, and even when we're younger, most of us didn't know what nutrients to put back in.
Sure.
Now they're doing that with the younger athletes and things, right? But they didn't do that. You just, you go hard, go all the way, go through the wall if you have to. You just do what you have to do, especially if you have a stronger mindset. But one thing I'm really seeing is that now in the 40s, 40 plus, we're noticing that now we don't have those same bodies.
Mhm.
Yes, that's always been the case, but now you're feeling it. You're seeing it. You're wondering why. Why do I have all these gut issues?
Right.
Well, number one, that's not the same gut that is the gut that you've polluted for all these years doesn't have the same enzymes, same things to break down the pollution you've put in there. So
Right.
now the body is like, look, dude, the trash disposal is closed. Okay. So now we're
Right.
going to manifest and all these other things happening throughout your body because I can't continue to take what you've put me through, and including stress. Stress
Mhm.
actually adds to that as well. So, one of the main things that I do with dealing with clients is we address the nutrient deficiency. Even though I'm a holistic nutritionist, I don't just say, hey, let's just eat fruits and vegetables.
Mhm.
To me, that's actually very negligent, because if you don't understand somebody's actual biological nature, you don't know what types of fruits and vegetables, and even if they should be eating certain types of fruits and vegetables, you don't understand where that body is. So once we get that 40 and up, we have to get the test. And I don't just mean regular testing. You got to get those functional tests.
Mhm.
And most people out there, as you guys probably know so well, don't even know what those are, because
Right.
their medical doctor did not prescribe that, because that's not what they were taught in schools. Yes,
Right.
a functional doctor, or integrative doctor now, yes. How many people even have access to a functional medical doctor or integrative doctor or understand? So that's one of the biggest things, is addressing the deficiencies going on with the body so we can put the proper foods and drinks back in the body, and supplementation. And then a lot of times we even have to change the type of workouts. The way you
Sure.
were working out at 20 is not the way you should be working out at 40, unless you're some, you know, phenomenon of genius. You're some genius when it comes to your physical structure, which most of us are not going to be.
Right.
So yeah, we're
Yeah.
different and it's good.
Sure. Yeah, and I want to unpack some of the training changes there, but before we do, can you tell a little bit more? What are some tests you like, or test slash intake processes, or what are some of your more go-to kind of testing panels you like to see people pull, or you like, clients to have, or you would suggest someone take a look at?
Absolutely. So when we're looking at the standard tests that most people can get their medical doctor to pull, of course we want to do the metabolic panels. I really push for the hormonal panels when it comes to women, because you'd be surprised how many doctors will not prescribe that, or they will
Mhm.
not have insurance pay for it, and me and my clients have to pay for it out of pocket. I
Mhm.
mean, literally, women in perimenopause, menopause, the doctor won't get them a hormonal panel.
Right, right.
Does it make sense? Actually happened to me. So
Mhm.
I know that for a fact. But definitely that. Of course, we're going to look at any markers dealing with heart health. Of course, we're going to look at everything dealing with the cholesterol, kidney function, liver function, anything dealing with overall organ function, just to make sure that the body is, that our biomarkers are not too high or too low, as we all know. In
Mhm.
addition to those, I ask everyone to go ahead and do the DNA testing. A lot of people don't even know. They think that's the, what is it, the 23andMe and all that.
Right,
It's
right.
like those are doing better, but I mean more so from a biological standpoint to where you understand, okay, not only this my DNA, but also there's certain genetic markers that cause my body to have been off since I was born. We do a lot of testing through a company that deals with that quite often. So what we found is most of our people we were working with over 50 had at least one genetic mutation,
Mhm.
and then we wonder why they all had high blood pressure, they all had high cholesterol. For many of them, they were always tense, angry, gut issues. It was very similar problems we would see from the same genetic mutation. And so when you see those things, it just really opens up your mind and your world to understanding how in depth the human body goes and how we can't just stop with, hey, your A1C and glucose look okay, you're good.
Right, right,
No, it's so much deeper than that. So those are some of the things that I ask, as well as so many others. It can
right.
get pricey, as we know, if
Sure.
because insurance won't cover a lot of these. But
Right.
I tell people first, let's go ahead and create the narrative to push your MD to get the insurance to pay for as many of
Yeah.
these as possible.
Yeah, and to your point, right? It's it's a fine line between like that them making a case for it to be covered or not. But I think a
Mhm.
lot of people, if a practitioner like yourself, which I would say is doing this, but is doing a thorough intake and they can understand the person, then I think a lot of times the testing, even if they have to pay out of pocket, they can pinpoint which test because there's a lot from like gut permeability, GI maps, different food sensitivities, food allergies. But if someone doesn't have certain issues, there might be different testing to pull. And that can be defeating too.
Yeah.
Like, well, man, I spent all this money last year with someone else. And now you're asking me to do it. And I didn't get anything out of it. It's like, well, do they know how to interpret it or was it the right test too? So it can be confusing for people, I would imagine.
Yeah, very confusing. I actually had a meeting with one of my clients yesterday who spent $2,500 out of her pocket with a functional doctor because he didn't take her insurance. And she's back in the same boat again because, that was only the first round and now she can't go back to him because it's too high. So,
Mm,
so I do think in a lot of ways it's a broken system. I think we'll get better. I do believe that in the next 5 to 10 years. But right now, because our medical costs and our testing are so high here, most people, even doing well, can't afford all that testing on their own. So until we get some type of insurance coverage or something, it's going to be very hard for people to get those tests done.
yeah. Well, looking at this with your education, with your doctorate in like natural medicine and looking at just the things around us that could be negatively impacting our blood work. Is there any maybe one or two things out there for a listener out there that maybe they think is healthy or okay, but could be causing a lot of issues? Maybe that comes to mind. I know we're painting with a broad brush here, but are there any general tips that you tend to see pop up more often than not with people, having be
Yes.
nutrition or lifestyle?
Yes, absolutely. So we all know about the, limiting processed food. Like that's nothing that is, rocket science. We see that all day long throughout social media, online. I'm not sure if many doctors are talking about it, but for the most part, people can get that information. But what I would say that people are not really paying attention to are deficiencies that occur extremely often in certain groupings. So women over 40.
Mhm.
Yes, the vitamin D deficiency your doctor might be aware of, but are they prescribing the right kind of vitamin D for your
Mhm.
body? Are you getting the vitamin D3? Are you getting vitamin D3 plus K2?
Right.
And then is it the right form? Are we looking at, do you need certain methylated vitamins? Is your body even absorbing what you're getting? So I think if you're looking general, make sure if your doctor has prescribed something that we really understand. Am I still here,
Yep. You're good.
Joe? Okay,
Yes.
that we really understand exactly where we need to go from there. And
Hmm.
we have Chat GPT now. I mean, I hate to say it because Chat GPT is not your doctor. But
Right.
if there's something you've already been told by your medical doctor, there's nothing wrong with looking into it a little bit further and then asking your doctor a question.
Right.
When did it become taboo to ask your doctor a question after you leave the appointment? Ask if you're not sure.
What are some common questions you get, like in intakes, where people are just really confused? Like, what would you say are some of the big ones that come up?
Gosh, one of the main questions I get is why am I on so many prescription drugs?
Hmm.
And Joe, I'm sure you guys know people don't even know why they are on a drug. So
Hmm.
I'll ask people, okay, so how long have you been on this? Oh, 30 years. I'm like, have your numbers gotten better? I don't know. Have you gone up in dosage? I don't know.
Yeah.
Even just simple things like that. They don't know the questions to ask because the pharmaceutical world, is so foreign to most people. They don't get it. They don't know that prescription drugs were created to treat issues, but initially they were created for short term usage.
Right.
People were not supposed to be on the same drugs 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And now doctors are actually telling people, well, just stay on this and you'll be good.
Hmm.
Even if the numbers are showing they're not good, they
Right.
keep them on the medication. So the biggest question, or I think bewilderment, that I run across with clients is understanding their prescriptions, the whys, the how longs, what are they looking for their blood work to know, is it time for me to get off or to lower the dosage? And that's
Yeah.
one of the things I'm actually super, super proud of, is working with several doctor teams and us getting patients' dosages lowered or even
Yeah.
some of them off, because I don't believe in just snatching somebody off
Right.
of a
Right.
prescribed medication without understanding, what's going on. I believe in working with the team.
Yeah. No, of course. Well, earlier you mentioned we were talking about strength training, and curious just what are some things you've been, strength training and through dance, pretty much all of your life, but for maybe some of the, we'll start with women out there that, they're 35, 40, moving into that perimenopause phase or potentially approaching it. What are some changes maybe, or if they're just brand new to it, what are some like good, how would you set up like a starter person's week, I guess is what I'm trying to ask, in that demographic for how they should approach like a training program or exercise program?
Yes. And I love this. And I normally don't have the time, but the past maybe 3 months, I've been teaching a class in person, a functional strength training class where
Oh,
we
cool.
have beginners all the way to advanced. I have some people in that class who probably 200 pounds overweight, but we figure out something for them to do because I always push, you have to start with strength training. Yes, I want you doing your walking and things too, but we have to get some resistance training going on with your body. And then we have to teach your body how to move for longevity, like with everyday movements. So making you stronger so your body can handle everyday movements without getting injured. What I have seen over the past 20 years, and what I'm seeing even more now in person, is that they're developing strength in a way where they're not getting as sore.
Mm,
They're feeling the changes in just picking up the groceries out of the car, stepping off of a curb. Those things matter to people
yeah.
because higher achievement people or type A people, I think we take those things for granted because we're going to make sure those things are straight always.
Right.
But for someone who that's not what they see their family doing or community doing, just feeling better and being less likely to get injured is huge for them. So for me, resistance training, lift some weights, male or female, start lifting something. I don't care if it's soup cans to start.
Right.
Lift something and then make yourself progress. As soon as that you don't feel any type of burn from that, you go up and you keep going up to a level that's healthy for you and for your joint health.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of nuance to where or validity out there to some kind of resistance training, even if you're starting with body weight stuff, right? Like, just for a couple bullet points, this was in the early 2000s, so I don't think it's changed, but the number one indicator of living in assisted living or not is if the subject started a resistance training program about within 15 to 20 years prior to that time in life. We know that resistance training outcomes can be stronger than many of the anxiety, depression medications. Doesn't mean you should just stop them and start exercising, but it's interesting. And then the blood sugar regulation, exercise and activity after meals have been shown to be some of the highest dosage in these medications that are helping regulate blood sugar. So I think there's got to be something there for people to say, And I think a lot of times, and I'm on more the tail end of this phase, especially for women, where I remember starting as a trainer as in college, and there was one younger female on the resistance floor, and the rest were in aerobics or on the cardio. Not there's anything wrong with cardio and aerobics, but I noticed over the years it just progressively got more and more. And now, at least the younger generation, there's more women. They train harder than men. Sorry guys, but they do, and they train better. Frankly, they have a plan. Whereas meatheads, we walk in like, oh, I'm just going to lift a few things, but you know, and there's more of them. Like I walk into a standard gym now, and there's 8 younger, I say girls, but women getting after it. And there's 4 dudes and 3 of us are in the corner talking, so it's,
Right.
so there's been a change, but I don't see
Yeah.
that same, I'm seeing some of it, but I don't see that same change in that 40 and up. Cause I feel like there was like this cultural shift around that time frame. And with you being at the hub of it out in California and all of your experiences, I'm wondering if you've kind of seen that, some of that same thing, and if that still is true out there.
Absolutely. It's definitely true that there's a cultural shift as women get older. I think part of it is your body feels different as you're entering perimenopause, menopause.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't get your hormones balanced, then you're feeling crazy from day to day, right? So maybe you're not feeling like working out. But for those who had already started this type of regimen, now it's your lifestyle. So
Yeah.
it's a habit. So anything that's a habit, you'll push through the uncomfortable times to stay with your habit. But one thing that I'm heavily seeing is that there is this kind of unspoken rule. I'm gonna get killed for this, but whatever. There's this unspoken rule that it's okay to fall apart when you get a certain age.
Mm.
And I think it comes from the mindset of even putting it parallel to retirement. Because
Yeah.
for many people who work, a 9 to 5 job. So as we're getting closer to this retirement, somewhere in our minds, it's like we're slowing down.
Right.
And while it may be great to retire from your job, that shouldn't coincide with slowing your body down and
Right.
allowing yourself to age. Because as we both know, the body is going to age very rapidly from
Right.
that point on, especially if you're not doing anything to prevent it. So if you're not lifting weights, if you're not changing your food, if you're not eating right, if you're not taking care of yourself pertaining to supplementation and getting proper nutrients, your body will decline even more rapidly than it was when you were younger, because now the body is missing a lot of the, maybe not in completion, but a lot of the tools and things that cause it to work at an optimal level. Now they've declined some too. It's an older body, it's an older car, older car. If it doesn't get a tune up, or if you don't keep it maintained and running steadily, it's going to decline. And then one day you're like, man, that doesn't even start anymore. Well, there was no maintenance. We weren't keeping up
Right.
with it. And it is very cultural, but what I see a lot, I'll hear those same people talking about retirement that won't do anything in the gym. And I'm like, they got you. You've been
Right.
brainwashed.
Right. Well, I think I'll play the rebuttaling audience member here. So I'll just say, well, Dr. B, but everything, comes easy to you. So, but I want to talk a little bit about, what you do, because I'm going to miss some stuff here, but I'll let you, I know it's unkind to ask a woman's age. So I'll let you share your age if you want, but you're at this certain
Absolutely.
stage in your life.
Mhm.
You're working with celebrities. You're helping, I think you said 2 organizations that Steve Harvey runs.
Yes, yes. Wellness
You're doing
director.
in-person stuff. You have your own
Yeah.
practice. So clearly, because it just comes so easy to you, you must be able to get all this stuff done so easy. So what is your approach? Like how do you fit it all in? So I want people to understand, oh, this is a lifelong process to get to where you are, but also like, how do you um, fit in the routine? What is your routine? What are some of your personal best practices? Then we'll talk a little bit about clients, but
Okay, awesome. And it's so funny you say that, because we hear it all the time. The older you get, the more in shape you are. People assume that, oh, she's on steroids now. What? Or she went under the knife. Like, huh? But at the same time, we have to understand that people, if you don't talk about your discipline and people are not disciplined themselves, they don't get it. They don't get what true discipline looks like. Showing up for yourself every single day when you don't want to. It's one thing for people to say it, it's another thing to live it. And so your peers, they get it. They get it. But I'm 50. I'm 50 now. Very proud of it. Extremely proud. I turned 50 in July. And to me, I want to wear that as a badge of honor, but also be a role model to
Yeah.
women, to all women, but even especially with a lot of my African American women, because there's even different stigmas which in each ethnicity that
Right.
have to be addressed. So my daily regimen is try to make sure that I set my, Apple Watch on my phone to get up by 6. Usually my cats wake me up a little bit earlier, but if I have my way, I'm getting up at 6. So I get up at 6 and feed the cats. Then immediately my YouTube or my Spotify or my Audible goes on with the positive messages. I'm imprinting upon my brain before I'm looking through my emails, and I don't touch social media yet. Do
Yeah.
not touch it. So before I allow the distractions of the world to change my brain function,
Yeah.
I stay in line with, the benefits that sleep gives us in so many ways, because that's also how I went to bed. I wake up and try to stay in alignment with that. So like, my Neville Goddard, my Jim Rohns, my, you know, like I think I even started with Anthony O'Neill. I did my financial ones, but the Myron Goldens, so many. There's so many of my women too. It's fate is evading me, but so many of the women as well that are just a truly inspirational, motivational. I do that for an hour. So 7 is when I turn on the rest of the world.
Hmm.
So emails, still try not to do social media unless my team is contacting me, but turning all the emails, start addressing that. Most of my clients are either overseas or East Coast, so they're up and moving around. Then what I do is I try to sneak in that first morning workout. So around 9 or 10, I'm real close to the gym. I at least go and try to do my fasted cardio or do a functional workout, strength training, or do a functional mobility workout. That's usually no more than 30 minutes to an hour, or I could do it at home with YouTube. No biggie. Come back, finish my meetings, evening time, that's that second workout. And
Hmm.
that's usually where I'm doing more of a hardcore functional strength workout, or I'm doing just my heavy lifting days, or I may do, hot yoga, but I'm
Yeah.
pushing myself a little bit more. That's at least 5 days per week. I may go take a crazy functional hit strength workout. But if I notice that my body is not feeling sore, at least a little bit, I'm like, okay, so that means that we've gotten a little bit stronger. Let's
Hmm.
just push ourselves. But then I'm making sure I get my sleep. I'm making sure that I'm eating my healthy foods. Sometimes I'll do intermittent fasting, sometimes I won't. I
Hmm.
listen to my body. I listen to what it needs. Sometimes I'll eat some grass fed organic steak. Sometimes I won't. I listen. I feel out how my body's feeling. I look at my skin.
Hmm.
If I'm noticing a lot of puffiness, a lot of the cortisol face that a lot of women have,
Yeah.
then okay, so is my lymphatic system working correctly? I need to do more of my red light therapy. So I'm very in tune with myself, even in between the crazy work schedule. Now I'm not married either, and I don't have kids. So I know everyone can't do all of that, but everyone can do some of that and
Sure.
establish something that's best for you. Your practice doesn't have to be my practice, but you still need a practice.
Yeah. And I think too, to your point, I mean, if someone doesn't have, all the knowledge and the wherewithal of like, where do I start? Like, that's why you work with someone like yourself to kind of layer this in. I think those small goals, and just having someone support you and walk through, like you said earlier, like you don't give up on people if they know that that's happening. I think it's just taking it, yeah, like one step at a time and building off it, that compound effect over time, right? So, and I
Absolutely.
love what you said about how you start your day too, because that's what my wife and I often will say is like, especially with our girls, is there's positive brainwashing and there's negative brain. Like someone's going to brainwash you. It's just, are you going to control it, or like the news isn't on in my house. There's a lot of things that we just try to, we're not perfect, but we try not to expose ourselves or our kids to. But we
Yeah.
will work in, if it's uplifting music or Christian music, or
Hmm.
there's certain things that is more uplifting quotes in the house, and we
Yes.
probably could do it even more than what we're doing it, but it's just kind of getting those daily practices and habits, and that's a big thing. So I did want to
Love it.
show this really quick though, because for those
Okay.
who who don't know. So here's you getting after it with a pretty solid Turkish get up here. Look at the size of that one.
I think that was my first try at a 30 pound. I think that was my first leg. You see that? Oh, try to get it up.
That's solid though. So I mean, it's not,
Thank
and
you.
again, if people are intimidated, like you don't have to start like Dr. B did doing, she didn't start, I'm sure, with Turkish
No.
get ups, but just for everybody out there, when I said earlier, like she lives it as well. So you got the proof is in the
Thank
is
you.
on the gram, right? You did it for the gram. So
I do it for the gram. One thing too with me, Joe, I like to show people that I'm human. Like, you
right,
know, yes, I'm 50. I'm still in perimenopause. Growing up, I never had any, like I've always had a little fat on the thighs and the glute area because my body type. But like midsection, no fat. Now I have to fight to keep fat off of my midsection. And, back to what you were saying earlier, like people like, you're just born like that. It's easy for you. People don't get it. Like the way
right,
that I have to time my food, my starches, my proteins, because it's important for me to be my very best. I'm okay if I'm a little larger than I was at 25, as long as I'm at my best. I'm
right.
not fighting to be 25. I'm fighting to move like 25. So that's the way I try to live everything. So I show sometimes. There's a few of them on there. I think I'm showing a little belly fat thing. I'm
Hey, it's all
real.
part of it. Well, and it's
Yeah.
interesting too because I do think though people can find some inspiration, motivation in that too to see those
Mhm.
movements, and to be like, oh, okay, like this is I'm not there, but I can work towards that. I know, and I'm sure I don't know if you would echo this or not. Maybe you're you probably are stronger minded than I am at the moment, but sometimes it'll actually help me if I see other people getting after it, or if I hear of a client or a patient like getting after it and getting really good results. I'm like, man, like I'm a hypocrite if I need to go do this. And so that
Absolutely.
little extra trip to the track or whatever, or like
Yeah.
I volunteered, just work locally with one of the football programs. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I got all these boys in front of me now. Like I gotta, I have to bring it. I have to make sure I'm
Absolutely.
doing what we expect them to do and being that model
Yes.
for them. And it's not easy because there's plenty of times, even this morning my wife and I started doing this morning walk. And we both looked at each other like, because we just got back from some travel. We're like, do we need to do it today? We both had that look where it's like, is she going to say yes or am I going to say yes? Like I'm gonna give her credit because I don't remember who said we need to do it, but she was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. I was like, yeah, I
I
think we should.
love
Then all
it.
of a sudden I walked downstairs to grab my coffee. I'm like, looks like we're going.
It's like it's gonna happen. But one thing I love about that, and I think people don't emphasize enough, is the power in couples staying healthy together. Because
Mhm.
what if you all were separate, you may convince yourself to get back in the bed, but it's that positive motivation together. I mean, we know what happens to the brain and even the neurotransmitters that are released and everything, and how healthy it is for our entire bodies, but it's also good for your relationship.
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
i I truly believe that a couple that works out together is going to stay together a lot
Yep.
longer. You guys may also get on your nerves, on each other's nerves,
Well,
but it's still
that's
healthy.
yeah, too bad. I've been telling her I want to work her into the podcast because she's much more articulate than I am and she does a great job. But one funny thing was she was training me. We were friends, literally friends, like nothing going on. And so I did a triathlon, like a mini one to like prep, and I was terrible. And one of my bosses at that time was like, "You should do swim lessons." So anyway, she ran the swim department. That's how we met. And so I went in there, and she's doing these lessons, and she did. She got me pretty good for a guy in his, at the time I think I was in my mid 30s, like swimming for generally the first time. And then all of a sudden, literally one date, the next training session, she's like blowing the whistle, like, all right, time to go. And I'm like, nah, I'm just not feeling it. I'm like, no, I'm not pushing today. She's just like, are you kidding me? All this work. It was like 6 months of work. I went from, just dogging it. No, it wasn't able to do flip turns. Like I think we did like time lengths. I want to see if she got me to like 22 lengths. And I started at like 7 or 8. So we're talking like massive improvement, but she just drove me big time. But as
Uh-huh.
soon as after the first time we like had a date or whatever, it was just like, yeah, no, just not going to listen to you anymore. Like, she's like, dang it, Joe. I'm like, sorry, I just ruined your
Such a man.
project.
Such a man.
Well, and I will admit I don't golf for that reason too, because she grew up on a golf course and I didn't pick up a club till my 30s. So I'm like, yeah, no. Well, my
Now
wife's
you're
hitting from the male tees a lot straighter and a lot further than I am. I'm like, I'll pass.
I love it.
But it's
Love
all
that.
actually I don't care because it's all good. I know I'm
Yeah.
terrible at that, but now I got us lost. I apologize.
No, no, you're good. But one thing you were talking about how you like to even show up even when you're working with the youngins. And I think that's so important for us to keep a healthy level of competition. We're still being great sports, but
Right.
if I go to a class like a F45 or Orange Theory, oh, I'm looking for the young one because I'm gonna
Yeah.
get right over the machine next to them and I'm gonna go for it.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'm gonna root them on the
Yeah.
same way. Like I'm that person loud and yelling for the whole class and pretty much almost passing out by the end of it. Like, not for everybody, but I love feeling that young energy,
Yeah.
competitive energy. And even if it's somebody older, let's stay competitive and safe. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with feeling youthful and moving youthful? It does something for our spirits, it does something for our brains.
Oh yeah.
So I love that you do that. Everyone should. In
No, it's
in
a
a
good.
healthy way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a good mixture because like I will say there's a lot of guys around my age, and then there's some younger guys that are
Mhm.
in some of the jujitsu gyms I train at, and it'll be like, okay, I'm gonna wear him down. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'll wear him down because I'm tired right now. And I'm like, oh wait a minute, he's not getting tired. He's not one of my 40-year-old buddies I'm rolling with. This kid's 22 and he's a savage. Like, this isn't working. I got to shift gears. I'm like, oh dang it. I was telling a younger guy the other day that I was like, dude, you didn't get tired. And I was like, I was just so used to guys my age I'm rolling with, and it's kind of a
Yeah.
little joke where I'm like, I had to, yeah, I couldn't be lazy with him for sure. I mean, I was
Yeah.
still trying, but I was still trying to be lazy and just tire him out. And he
Like,
wasn't getting
not
tired.
happening.
No.
And what's so funny is I don't know if you know that I have my pro card in a fitness bikini, natural fitness bikini.
Hmm.
So I compete. And the last when I got my pro card, I was 43 and I was on stage and the person underneath me, the closest in age, was 10 years younger than me. And I remember, and everyone else was 20s, but I remember that everyone was asking me, how'd you beat the younger girls? And I said, because they didn't have the stamina or the mental perseverance because they kept us up there posing for a long time. They couldn't
Couldn't
outpose
hold
me
it.
after a
Yeah.
certain amount of time. And that was mental. That had nothing to do, because honestly, I had one of the best bodies, but I truly think a couple of them had better bodies, but
Mm.
they couldn't hold the muscle definition in the posing. And I always use that story just to show people just because you may be aging physically, this mental strength, if you work on this every day, this is a beast.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
take pride in that too.
Was it this one here? Was it this one?
Which one?
2020 maybe, or
No, it was
oh, that's
before
different.
that. So
Before that? Okay.
it would be further down. I think I have
Oops,
it
sorry.
in a oh no, you're fine. I think I have it in a comparison shot. I have on like the turquoise outfit in the middle with me and the sword. But yeah. So that one was funny because I didn't win because I switched categories and I did wellness. I have no idea why that was not a wellness physique, but I was just playing around. Because it's okay too. Figure out what
Yeah,
works for you.
sure. Well, I think it's great to have so many different like, opportunities if you're at a higher level in your fitness journey and your or, health journey, and you're kind of like, all right, let me try to challenge myself and go do a competition.
Yes.
Like what got you kind of pumped to do that at 43 to step on stage? What was the trigger there?
Oh, well, you know what? My very first one, I was 35, and I did that in LA when I was 35. And no, actually, I was 33. So I did it in another 10-year interval, and I won. I won. So I did that one because I noticed my body wasn't as tight as I liked for it to be. So for me, fitness competitions equate discipline. So I've always believed the way you are with any part of your life is the way you are with every part of your life. So if I need to become more disciplined with work or with clients or something, I'll do a fitness competition because there's nothing in the world that would get your mind right like
Yep. You're about to
that.
wear a bathing suit with big old lights on you and a few thousand people
uh,
looking at you. Yep.
yeah, looking at every little problem
Yep.
to point it out. So
Yeah. They're like,
so
oh, you see
43,
that right
yeah.
under there? There's that little wrinkle there
Oh,
right under the. You're like, get out of here.
right. You're like, "No, I'm proud of that wrinkle." So
Yeah.
so at 43, I had just started my PhD and I noticed that I wasn't hitting the gym as much because I was doing the course load. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh no,
Yeah.
forget that. do another competition,
Get
study
you right in
for the
shape.
PhD. You can do it all. You can do, and that's the reason why I got up there and finally got the pro card.
What's Let me pull this up if you don't mind. I'm going to pull up another one here. Whoops.
Yeah.
Let me pull this up here. When was this shot here? What's the time frame difference here?
Oh wow. So this what's interesting is this is actually in 2024.
Okay.
So my body had already started perimenopause. Was it
Oh yeah,
no,
you see.
or 2023. It may be 2023 actually. So I was able to put on a lot of muscle, but when I stepped on the stage, um, no, I think it may have been November. No, it was November 2023 when I stepped on the stage. And I wasn't as lean as I needed to be, but I had great muscle tone. We found out I had fibroids again.
Hmm.
So yeah, hormones are totally off. I said, no, I gotta take a little break, make sure the fibroids go away naturally, and or however I needed them to go away, but and get these hormones back together. So I had some good muscle on me then though. Just could not get lean enough. And I was still just doing natural. This is before I really found out about the peptides and things. So I was just doing it with the nutrition and with the workouts.
Yeah. What are some of the protocols
Yeah.
you've used or have seen used for perimenopause, like to help you with some of that as you're
Yeah.
transitioning?
Well, because I do peptides. I love peptides,
Yeah.
but I haven't used them with competing yet. You compete, and I know
Okay.
that'll put me in a different organization. I'm fine with that because I think that most people need some type of peptide, but it's not allowed in the natural competition world. So I love Sloop. So SLUPP332.
Yep.
Love Sloop just to help the mitochondria work the way they're supposed to, help the body to lean out a little easier, but it doesn't throw my body off. Like even high level fat burners I couldn't do. I have more of a
Yeah.
sensitive natural constitution. And so anything with too much caffeine, too many stimulants throws me off. Love Sloop. This is not a peptide, but I really enjoy it. I do the NMN NAD route, and I
Yep. Yep.
actually take something for that. Love it, love it. Looking forward to some Moreland journey. And I
Yeah.
know some Orleans are one of the older ones and things, but I think I may start there just to see how my body deals with it as far as building the muscle mass and retaining it. So I really think in perimenopause or in
Yep.
menopause, women should look into the peptides that allow them to maintain lean muscle mass, little to no side effects whatsoever. I also do the BPC
Hmm.
157 for gut health.
Yep. Yep.
I've always had a little bit of an issue with my gut, and then just overall longevity and taking care of our cells. And I'm going to look into the GHK too.
Yeah.
It's
That's a good one.
copper for skin, for everything dealing with anti-aging. But I love learning about
Yeah.
peptides. Like I'm kind of getting obsessed with them. But just the
Yeah.
information is incredible.
Yeah, and what's nice with a lot of like the GHRPs, like those growth hormone releasing peptides, a lot of people maybe they do know, maybe some know this, but it's self-regulating because it's only increasing the body's signaling. So there's a high safety efficacy. Like there's studies of you know pretty inactive, relatively unhealthy, subjects in 60, 70 plus that have used
Mm.
like a tesamorelin or samorelin um, to get to some of those results. And yeah, to your point, to sleep, skin, hair, nails, fat disposition, lean body mass retention, because
Yes.
that's a really big one I see with GLP-1s. What we try to focus on is, you know, hitting a protein target, resistance training,
Mhm.
creatine, hormone profile, and then peptide
Mhm.
therapies. So it's like you don't have to do any of them,
Love it.
but odds are you're probably going to have to take a large amount of that GLP-1 medication and spend a lot of money on that to get the same results. And if you just clean some of these up with many of them are free next to nothing. They're super inexpensive. Any
Yes.
of the stuff I just mentioned to help add to that. But speaking of that, do you use like creatine in any of your supplementation or?
I love creatine.
Mhm.
And back in the day, creatine, they used to say, oh, it's going to put weight on you. It's just for bodybuilding guys. And I'm so glad we got away from that. And
Yeah.
they're even really pushing more and more women to supplement with
Yep.
creatine. So I've been steadily on creatine for over a decade now. I try to get most of my protein from my foods, but I'm huge on amino acids. I
Mhm.
won't say the name of the brand, but I use one of those that you can even take while you're fasted, and I
Sure.
get my 140 to 160 grams of protein daily, just with a variety of sources, depending on how my gut is dealing with them. But I think that's so important for people to do. And I think I wish that more of the medical world would go back to school to learn about peptides
Yeah.
because even though I know we have to wait for FDA approval, but we also know FDA pulled a lot of them that
Right.
we were able to use before. But I have a question for you, Joe, if I may.
Sure. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Retatrutide? TrueTide.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of good utility and good early research on it. Actually, we have a pretty good article on our site where we kind of broke down the results from some of the studies.
Okay.
So I think it'll be interesting to see like what as it gets further along and released.
Yeah.
I do know of some that places that you can legitimately source it from a
Yeah.
compounding pharmacy through prescription. I think there's some nuances there and how they blend it. I would say for people to stay away from, I know I'm not going to make a lot of friends when I say this, but stay away from like research sites or compounds with that nature. And I have a whole article, not my opinion. It's from other research that I cite in the article about what's the contaminants, the weakness and all that.
Yeah.
But I also find that like tirzepatide, Zepbound,
Mm-hmm.
compared to like an Ozempic was supposed to be like the new king of fat loss. But, I see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that they just respond different. And so I think that's a big thing when at least personally, like our medical team and our approach is more root cause and functional medicine where we're trying to find the minimum effective dose. And so we'll try to start people with like a starter vial so they're not too financially connected to it and see how it
Mm-hmm.
works. Because I've seen people in my own family even that they use semaglutide, great results. Like, oh, well, I'm going to take it up a notch with tirzepatide and
Mm-hmm.
actually got next to no results from it. Their body didn't respond as well. So I wonder if retatrutide is going to be like a similar, just another tool in the toolbox, but maybe not the tool for every
Mm-hmm.
job, if you will.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of, yeah, like I think I think there'll be some utility to it and just see how it blends well with people. But I
Yeah.
also think the thing I don't want to say nervous about, like the thing I don't like to see, which is frustrating, like let me take a step back. So what's been nice is we'll get someone come in and they are approved by their insurance. Like, great, you don't have to pay us for that. Awesome. Like, go
Mm-hmm.
stick with your insurance, but you can work with us and we'll help you with the other stuff that'll make it more effective. Because I have
Yes.
seen people on like the largest dose possible and still not losing any weight. But people don't understand there's GLP-1 receptors in the gut. And if the gut's a mess, this is a very easy analogy I try to use, but imagine like when we used to watch TV back in the 80s, like what it looked
Mm-hmm.
like and all fuzzy and not the clear picture. And then now you get like this high def 4K, like TVs today. That's
Yeah.
similar to inflammation in the body with signaling, like we're signaling for hormones or GLP-1s or weight loss or metabolism. Some of that signaling is so disrupted that those treatments just are not as effective. So that's where, whether it's with yourself or, other health coaches that are focused on that more holistic approach,
Mm-hmm.
that's where, getting into the nutrition, the lifestyle, the other things, gut health testing, take a step back before you just keep cramming prescriptions in there. And I think
Absolutely.
that's saying that you were talking about that earlier too, right? Like, not
Yes.
that it's inherently evil or whatever in the US medical treatment model, but it
Mm-hmm.
is designed for sick care. So like there's even physicians I know that off the record will say like, I don't want to prescribe statins. I don't want to prescribe these cholesterol meds. I want to
Yes.
take him by the face and say, you need to do this, this, and this. He's like, but I have a minimum standard of care. If I don't meet that, I get sued. He's like, if Bob Smith over here gets a heart attack, but I didn't put him on these drugs that would have prevented him from having it, allegedly. That's what the research is stating. I'm
Yes.
in trouble. I lose my practice. So they're kind of like I know a lot of providers are kind of stuck as well a little bit. So
I
that's why I
agree.
think people have to self-advocate and they have to take control of their medical. And it doesn't mean like their one GP is a bad person or whatever. It's just like they just
Mm-hmm.
got certain very specific training. And yeah, like I said, I can go on and on
I
about that. I
agree.
didn't mean to go on a little bit of a rant there,
No,
but
no, no, no,
that's
not
kind
at
of what
all.
I
Yeah.
experience a lot because I have
Yeah.
my primary care physician. He's awesome, but I'll walk in and bring up like, hey, as a family member was on a struggling with T3, and I shared with him how there was a slower released T3 version that came out, and it was,
Mhm.
compounded. And he's like, I didn't even know that. And he's, pulling it up like, oh, cool. I got a couple patients that can help. So it's just,
Yes.
if it's a compounded medication
Mhm.
that's not patented anymore, you're not going to have a rep in there training the doctor on how to prescribe it or how to use it. That's the
Of
downside of
course.
it.
And I think
So,
it's really important for us to not criticize the entire medical system.
right.
It's there's a lot of faults, but there's a lot of faults with a lot of systems. There's a lot of fault with us as individuals. There's just, everybody's human. We have to understand that. And we also have to understand that doctors were trained in a very certain way. The same way as if you went to school, you were trained to do things in a certain way. So,
Right.
yes, many of them are going back and taking different classes and things, but it's expensive, number one. Many of
Hmm.
them are very overburdened already with their patients and the number of cases they have. And a lot of them are burnt out. That's why I always advocate for bringing the power back into your hands. That
Hmm.
means asking the questions. That means taking care of yourself as much as you know how. Because nowadays, you are not telling the truth if you say you know nothing as far as caring for yourself, even when it comes to basic lifestyle. So help the docs out a little bit.
Right.
Help the MDs, help the NDs, so we can help you too. And I just think too often we want to pass the excuses down to someone else, or the burden for what's happened in our lives to someone else. No, you are responsible for your life.
Right.
Period. So whether you do well or it's your demise, at some point it is your responsibility as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah, people don't
Well,
like hearing that.
yeah. Yeah. It is so empowering though, once you kind of get over that. Cause, there's several resources, books. You put it very well too. And then there was another one that was, Jocko Willink, the really famous book, Extreme Ownership, right? And I
Mm.
remember reading that in management, and just like at first it was like, oh man, like I suck at everything. But you gotta give yourself some grace and understand the principle of it was like, yeah, if you made a mistake, you also have take ownership of correcting it. He's like, it's not a problem making a mistake. It's a problem when you don't, correct it or take action after So,
Absolutely.
well, with all
Absolutely.
that, I know we're coming up on time. I want to be respectful of your time, but I was wondering if you would be so kind to share kind of Dr. B's top maybe 3 to 5 health tips for those over 40, over 50. Any kind of things come to mind as we start to wind down the episode today?
Okay, absolutely. So we're first going to start with on the nutrition side.
Okay.
Number one, know your blood work so you can know what you have excess in your body and what you are deficient in. So those kind of pair together, right? Know
Hmm.
your blood work. Number two, get the processed food out of your life. And yes, I know everything has some level of process unless you're a gardener or a farmer, right? And
Sure.
even then, there's a little bit. But the closer it is to the way that the creator put it there for you, just get close to that. So
Right.
if it's one step away, that's going to be better than something that's 5 steps away.
Right.
That's the way I tell
Good
people to
way to
figure
put
it
it.
out
Yeah.
for yourself. Yeah, and we all can do something with that. So everything's slightly processed, but Kool-Aid, come on. Come on. You cannot argue for your
One of
Kool-Aid.
the food groups, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure it is. Sure it is. But number three, I would actually make more of a mindset tip. And that is, it's going to be two-part. The number one is loving yourself as you are. And then the second part to that is, once you're loving yourself, understanding that the second part of that love is getting healthy, whatever
Hmm.
that healthy looks like. Your healthy may not look like my healthy, but as long as it's healthy for you, you maintain it for longevity and you increase your quality of life. So number three is more mindset. Number four, for physical, men and women, but especially for my women, pick up some weights. If you don't have a lot of joint issues, go ahead and do some body weight. It can just be basic. Everything is on YouTube now. I have a million videos now. We all do. There's videos. Go and find the person that speaks to you. Do those things every single day. Get your cardio in as well. Get your walks. You all, walking is fantastic for us as we age, but I'm going to need you to pick up the intensity just a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, we understand the little leisurely walks, but let's go ahead and get some more steps in. Burn a few more calories with that walk too.
There you go.
So those are my 5 tips from Dr. B.
Nice. Well, and I will say, I'm gonna have to layer back in those Turkish get-ups into my routine after seeing your clip because I'm like, dang it, she's getting after it. I need to do it because
No,
I
I
think
appreciate
subconsciously, because
that.
it's hard, I
Yeah.
put it to the side, like, yeah, we don't need that in the program right now. But
Yeah.
great
And
movement.
do you do sin and sinister, simple and sinister? Pablo's
Uh,
method. So look up simple and sinister because at least 3 times a week I do 100 single arm kettlebell swings,
okay,
and I have to do 10 Turkish get ups, and I
nice.
slowly raise the weight. So just it's part of Pablo's training and stuff. The guy behind the kettlebell.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No, I'll
super good
definitely check
stuff.
that out. I've definitely read and looked at a lot of his stuff, but
Yeah.
I'll definitely take you up on that one because I like similar to like there's working out and there's training, right? So like
Yes.
just and we're telling everybody you gotta just get active, get activity, work out, but like training is like that specific goal of mine, and that's what I'm kind of working through right now is setting those next level goals. But kettlebells needs to be part of the program for sure. I do some of them, but like I said, the Turkish get ups I need to put in there for sure. Put them
Yeah.
back in, I should say.
Yeah. Do the windmills too. That's gonna be my
Yep.
next
I
video. I got my windmills in.
that is one of my favorite ones, I will say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it just stretches, opens you up, and all that, and yeah, a lot of good functional stuff there. Well, we're gonna have it in the show notes and all the content we pump out, where to find you. But just would you mind, just for the audience out there, where can they find more information about Dr. B?
Absolutely. So all of the social media platforms for Instagram, it's Basheerah_Ahmad. So the BASHEERAH_AHMAD. Facebook, just Basheerah Ahmad. TikTok, Basheerah_Ahmad. X, I have to remember to call it X. X is I think Basheerah Ahmad, and Facebook Basheerah Ahmad. So
Yep.
yes, that's the IG right there. You got it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and I think that's all. Well, I do LinkedIn, but hey, a lot of LinkedIn, I'm like the corporate consultant on there. So
Got it.
yeah,
Got it.
and also have a website, drbashira.com.
drbashira.com. Well, we'll have all that in the show notes. Thanks again. Really appreciate
Thank
having you on.
you.
A lot of good nuggets today. And yeah, thanks
Yeah.
everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and share the episode. And if you have questions, comment in those or send them in because we'll do our best to answer. And we'll also forward some to Dr. B. If there's something specific you'd like to ask her, we'll put you in touch with her and her team and try to get you all those answers. But thanks again, everybody, for tuning in to the First Optimal Podcast. And thanks again, Dr. B. We'll see you guys.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Have a great one.
All right.